So I'm here with the Mr. Richard Brown, the owner of one of, if not the nicest comic book collection in Michigan, and we were fortunate enough to pick up some of his books, and we wanted to give some insider information on him and let him share some of his story. So we're going to ask a few questions. Is that cool? Okay. So how old were you when you bought your first comic book? And what was it?
I'd say 8 years old, and it was either the Batman Annual 2 or Batman Annual 3. But while that interested me, it was when I got the Flash Annual 1 shortly thereafter that I really was sold.
And
Carmine Infantino.
He's great. How long have you been collecting?
Like I said, since I was about 8 years old, 50 years ago. But for beautiful girls like Sue Ciccone, I'm 35 and I just have graying hair.
That's it. You age gracefully.
Thank you.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Invulnerability, because you'd be able to go and save a lot of people and that, no personal. You'd be able to go on and continue to help people, but more so, I'd like to be able to go back and change some of the horrible things people have done to people. So if I could change people's hearts to accept Jesus Christ, but that's not my power to have.
Yes.
People just need to try a little bit of love in this world.
I agree. What has been your favorite comic book that you've purchased?
The adventure number 366, where Validus flattened Superboy and stomped on him with his big boot, and I got to see that smart aleck Karate Kid get ruined by Mano. I really enjoyed that the Fatal Five defeated the heroes at one time, because I love the villains. Today I gave away the first Joker, Catwoman, and Luther. But
how many comic book conventions have you been to in your life? And what's your favorite part about conventions? That was a good question.
The number, I'd guess about 8, 9, or 10, but the best thing is meeting people like Stan Lee and meeting Bob Crestall, meeting the late, great Jerry Bales and the late, great Bruce Hamilton. I've been very blessed. And yes, Kelly Hugh and I they did take many pictures of us. She, free of charge, was giving Richard those beautiful pictures of herself. For some reason, these women must have eye problems, but for some reason they always make me very happy at the conventions by being such wonderful people. So the best part is the imagination and the greatness of the comic book people and the wonderful messages for children that comic books give.
What has been your favorite comic book storyline?
I love Smallville all 218 episodes of it, minus the stupid Tomb episode and the Slumber and the Scare episode, but most of the other 218 were great. But the one where Mordru came back to Smallville and our heroes hid out there, Mono and Superboy, Duo Damsel, and Shrinking Violet. No, I'm sorry. Was it Shrinking Violet? No, Shadow Lass were hiding, so it was just like a Smallville episode, them hiding as ordinary people trying to figure out how to defeat the evil Mordru's legions.
Talk to us about the sale of your Spider-Man 1 and how that changed your life.
Okay. Way back when, there was this nice fellow named Marty Hay. He sent me this beautiful Spider-Man #1 for $600 back in the 70s. It came to my house. It had some marble chipping, and it had this great radiance to it. But I called the man up 3 hours ago because he was in Arizona, 3 hours behind me. I woke the man up, and I said, "I don't like your Spider-Man 1. You're kidding. Okay, send me another $150 and I'll send you the best one I have." And along it came this blazer with no marble chipping, set in like plexiglass, and it was kind of sealed shut and stuff. This like big old windows and that. And I waited and just kept waiting and waiting. And some guy scared me that something would happen if I just left it in the safety deposit box. So then I called my old buddy Gary Carter. He referred me to the fellow I'm going to meet Wednesday. The fellow I'm going to meet Wednesday referred me to a guy probably whose name shall remain nameless, and I kept saying $37,500, maybe because it multiplied by 5 the number of times Dad paid for the house. I mean, just me with my math thing. And then my buddy Jason Ewert came to the bank, handed me the money, I handed him the book. So now Marty Hay was nice enough to write me, you'll probably get 100 times what I paid for it. And then Jason, it made him prominent again. It's in the man's permanent collection where it really did something positive. I sold it. Down at the post office, they made me the head of the stamp campaign as far as for superhero stamps. People have come up for years, asked me for financial advice. I sold it. That nice Josh Nathanson gave me a great deal on another Spider-Man. And then, to complete the chain, I walk up to the great Stan Lee. I was crying before I met him, and I said, I probably got more money for this comic book than you have. He says, God bless you, and he hugs me, and I really melted like butter then, and thought about how he got a restraining order against Shelton on the Big Bang Theory, and I wrote to CBG that he probably would have hugged him like he did me. So the train of greatness just went on and on, people affected so positively by the sale of that one comic book.
That's amazing.
Thank you. I don't like Amazing Spider-Man 1, but I like the 6 copies, and with the money I made off my buddy today and other things, I'll probably buy another 10 copies, throw them in the bank, and sell one every 2 years.
Sit on them. What is your best comic book related experience?
Well, like I said, it's pretty good that other men were coming up, like shaking their heads, giving the lovely Kelly Hugh $45 or so to take a snapshot with their cell phones and sign in the picture, and Kelly started giving me free pictures and let me know how sweet I was. I hired a camera crew from Canada, and she was like, you're sweet, and people at the work were laughing, and they were taking pictures of us, and I was holding her hand as we were talking about how much we liked George Takei. We were talking with her microphone, oh, you again or something, and then the trouble was, though, things are so wonderful. And then they're taking our picture, and I whisper to her, typical Richard, shoots himself in the foot. I'm going to have to go back to mortal women at the post office. Women, as in plural? And I realized even an actress, you don't brag about other conquests, or you don't do that. So I learned a lesson, but what an experience to be able to laugh about. I was kind of sad at the time. And she talked about Scrabble, me playing Scrabble. So if I had a computer, which I don't believe in computers, she might have played me male Scrabble.
Who are some of the other celebrities you've met through comics?
Through comics. Richie Muchen, even though is not, I mean, to me, he's a celebrity. He's an experience in himself. But Adam Baldwin kept coming around me because he was so impressed with, how did you sell that Spider-Man #1 like this? He kept coming around me. I felt like a munchkin. He played some hockey, playing around with Gordie Howe, the legendary Detroiter, and he's about 6'6" and solid muscle, and he kept he was just so impressed with me because he was the Jedi Knights and the little zombies he couldn't relate to, but just like Kelly, he knew he was dealing with somebody that's considered a professional in the business. So that was really good. So many people like Bruce Hamilton, Jerry Bales that died, but had so much to do with the advent of the popularity of fandom or comic books. Bruce Hamilton said how one guy was sitting on 9 Action #1s, and he goes, he could buy a house. And Bruce Hamilton and Jerry selling maybe Action #1 for $640. These guys thinking they're ripping you off, and then look in the past at the kinds of things that they do. We got celebrities in our own right. Maggie Thompson, Don Thompson, these again are celebrities to the outside world because they are so educated and they were such special people. Too bad we've lost so many. But Jeff Johns, who I know is going to be the next, he's going to be 40 years old January 25th, and I'll probably wake his office up at 2 o'clock to wish him happy birthday. Happy 40th birthday. He's a legitimate
40's
star.
40's a big year. Has being one of the largest comic collectors in Detroit changed your life? And if so, how?
What I've done is I've tried to change the image of comic book collectors because the lovely Jovina Fuller, who was way too good for me, the beautiful woman that the men come in off the street and say, "Who's that? Who's that?" She came to my room when we went out on a date. She came to my room and I took pictures and I said, "Come on, guys, who else would have a Spider-Man badge up on their curtain?" It had to be my room. So she looks at it and sees an article that about me selling an unslabbed Spider-Man #1 for $37,500. And she says, "Is it for real?" I said, "Do you think a national publication is going to write that just for me to get pretty girls?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I was doing great on the date. I was in this very place. Tell them anything you want happened on the date, but don't tell them I ate your lasagna. She didn't want to get fat. And so we went to her car, and then I said, "Look, even if we're making out on my couch, I've got to watch Smallville." And she says, "What is that?" And after asking me out to go to a drive-in movie the next night, she didn't show, and I got roasted in Wizard magazine for, is this guy an out-of-work comic or what? Turning away whatever women are interested, saying, "But I want to watch Fantastic Four by myself, and I got to watch Smallville while I'm making out with you, Jovina." And I got roasted at the post office for years, people reminding me about that.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's not funny.
You live and learn, right?
I'm still crying.
You live and learn.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's the $1 million.
The many misadventures of Richard the Racehorse Brown. The story of my life. I went one time. Well, if we go on a date, this was to another lady. Like I don't like dancing. Maybe a week or two later, I see Sister So and So, and I go, "Story of my life. I'm going to burn for this." I flirted with the poor waitress here already, so I'm already in trouble. So forget the nun I asked her out. I didn't know.
Here's the $1 million question: DC or Marvel?
DC. Except if you're listening, Mr. Stan Lee, SL forever. But like I say, just once, make mine Marvel.